Hey, good afternoon. It's a little bit past 12 o'clock here in Texas. I'm coming on later than I normally do. I'm Jim Moore, and this is the program Justice for America. It's Thursday, October 3rd, 2024, and this is episode number 105. We're going to talk today about hurricanes, and we're going to go full on conspiracy today, okay? We're going to talk about some things that are happening on the internet and just, looking at whether or not there may be a legitimacy to them. I'm going to leave that for you to decide. I'm not here to tell you that one way or the other, but I do want to make you informed about what's going on. So we're going to talk about that, multiple October surprises that are happening already, and distractions. Hopefully I'll get to all of these things. So there's a lot going on in the world right now. We have been talking about a October surprise. Now, pardon me this morning, I'm a little bit at a disadvantage. Some of my machinery is not working. My microphone's gone. My, horizontal thing is gone. Yeah, so there's just a lot of stuff going on, but I'm going to do my best to get through this because I think what I'm about to tell you is really, really super important. So there are three primary things that are happening right now globally that I think deserve our attention. I'm really going to only deal with one of them. So I'm going to mention all three of them, but I'm going to deal with one. There is, of course, what's going on in Israel and the possibility, and there is a real possibility, of there being a conflict that goes, actually it already is global. The idea that it hasn't touched the globe in one way or another is that's a misnomer. It is, because different countries are providing weapons of warfare to other countries and so on, China to Iran and America to Israel and so on and so on. So it's like we're being dragged into a global conflict, and the possibility of a nuclear exchange is not in any way remote or ridiculous. So, but we're praying that won't happen and so on. So that's one of the things that's going on. And again, I just want to briefly touch that. The other thing, actually, there's a lot of things, but I'm just minimizing them. The other thing is what's going on with the entertainment industry, P. Diddy and the arrests and all of the scandals there. That's a really big deal that's happening right now. Actually, I think there's more than three. There's the elections that are going on right now that were just not 30 days. Whatever. We're about a month away from the elections, November 5th. And things are heating up and so on and so on. Yeah. So, and then there's the flooding that's going on, the hurricane that just happened. I'm going to talk about the hurricane today mostly just because it would take too long to go into all of these issues. So what is most important about what's happening right now? I want to say, first of all, you probably, if you're on any kind of social media, you're probably hearing people say, talk about distractions. Well, that's a distraction. This is a distraction. Okay, that's a distraction. Okay. Let's just address that real quick. So there are some people who say what's going on with Israel is a distraction from the presidential elections. I'm just giving you some examples. And some would say what's going on with the presidential elections are a distraction of what's going on with other things like, say, the flooding and the hurricane that's happening. Okay, so everybody thinks that one thing is a distraction from something else. Okay, so it's like, okay, so is everything a distraction from what I think it is? All right, so the reality is this. All of these issues are important. People that have died in the hurricane, that matters to them, and if you lived there, it mattered to you. If you were involved in the electoral process and you were one of the running guys, it would matter to you. So it wouldn't be a distraction. It would be your thing, right? Okay, so everybody's got a thing. And if you lived in Israel right now, to say that, well, what's happening with the conflict with Iran is a distraction from something else, you'll go, what the heck are you talking about? They're bombing my cities. Okay, quit with all the distraction talk. I will tell you this. I will give you one thing. That's a big distraction. The distraction away from eternity. And I'm not going to talk a lot about this because this program today is not about your soul, although everything's about your soul. What would it profit a man if he gains the whole world? What does it matter if all of these things happen, don't happen the way you want, do happen the way you want, and your heart is right with God, at any given moment, like these people in the flood that we're about to talk about, they didn't know. They didn't get up that morning and go, gosh, today's the day I'm going to die. I need to get right with God. No, today is the day that you have been given by the Lord because you're sucking breath to get right with God. You could in an instant be standing before the Lord. As I was walking and praying this morning, I thought about that for me. One of these days, excuse me, my camera is tilted. One of these days, it's going to be it. Okay? I don't want to wait until that time to get right with God. All right, that's all I'm going to say. So let's talk about what's going on. I'm going to give you a number of links. This is what I do in this program. If you're a new viewer, I basically describe the links that I'm giving you. I know a lot of you don't have time to sit down for hours and hours combing through different postings and videos and so on and so on. I hope you don't, actually. I hope you don't spend an enormous amount of time doing that, because that can really be unhealthy. But I feel like this is part of what I'm called to do. I preach the gospel and I make people informed, help them to be informed about current events and what's happening. Why? So they'll freak out. No, not at all. So they'll be informed. Okay, being informed is good. Okay, even if it's like, oh, there's a tornado coming your way, I'd rather be informed than not. So that's the idea. But you have to go look up the links. I can't do it for you. And yeah, so there's, I don't know, 15 of them. I know that sounds like a lot, but they're all of them 2, 3, 4 minutes. I think I counted up the minutes, and I put in front of each one, when you go to the description box, you all know what that is, right? When this program is over, and it's always saved, it's automatically saved, okay? And you go back and look at it again, at the top where I give the title of the program, there's this little 4-letter word that says M-O-R-E, not to be confused with my name, which is more, but M-O-R-E. If you hit that, I know most of you already know this, but if you hit that, where it says more, the description box will drop down, and all the links that I'm about to share with you in the next 10 minutes will be there. So you can go back and look at them. Most of them you'll be able to just click right on and go to it. You might have to cut and paste 1 or 2, and you probably want to hurry, because the tendency is for this kind of information to go down. And I'm going to do my best. When I said about conspiracy, I'm kind of tongue-in-cheek, I'm kind of joking. I'm not here to tell you whether it is or isn't. I just want to present the facts as I see them and let you make up your mind. Because let's remember this. How many things in the last 2 or 3 years that all of the powers that be would say, conspiracy, 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 and they turn out to be truth. So I don't want to go deep in this, but I need to say this. For those of you who've never heard it before, let me say this real quick. Conspiracy theory, 2 words, right? What's the first word? Conspiracy. What does that mean? That means to conspire. That means 2 or more people are conspiring together. Usually they don't want anyone to know about. They're conspiring, okay? Conspiracy means they're conspiring. Theory, what is a theory? Theory of relativity, theory of evolution, theory. It means that they're theorizing. Somebody like me or you might theorize that someone is conspiring in secret to do something. Now, just because it's a theory doesn't make it true, and it doesn't make it false. Do you understand that? Okay, when you're theorizing something, you don't know. You have a suspicion. Your theory might turn out to be wrong. Your theory might turn out to be right. We found recently that there are a lot of things that, again, people that want to mock you and make fun of you will say, oh, conspiracy theorists, so they can label you, right? You know, that's what you do if you want to demean or criticize or just get someone to not listen to you anymore. You label them with some negative thing, and automatically people don't want to be associated with that, okay? Because, yeah, so let's not be dumb. All right. Everybody knows what's happened by now in, I don't even remember how many states they said that the hurricane affected. Now, I'm going to tell you things that I've read. You can look them up. But I'll get to number 1 here in just a second. They're saying that the Hurricane Helene was 100 times stronger than Katrina. Now, different scientists will have different opinions, but that's the running theme right now. They say that this is the worst hurricane that has happened in 55 years since Katrina, okay? And they say that it is far worse. Even if it's not 100 times, it's far, far worse, okay? Katrina was category 3. This is a category 4, bridging on category 5. The devastation, let me just say this to you, the devastation that has happened from this hurricane has affected multiple states. I've heard 5, 6, up to as many as 12, in ways that you cannot possibly comprehend. Now, I've been to sites where disasters happen, only a couple, just minor, really minor things, flooding, a tornado once, and it is impossible. Went to Mount St. Helens when that happened. It is impossible to grasp the severity of these things through the pictures and the videos you watch. You just can't. But we're going to try, right? Because it's important that you have compassion for your fellow man, right? Okay, if it were you and it happened in your city, you would hope and pray to God that somebody would care enough to send money, to send resources, to pray for you, to, send finances. Okay, that would matter to you. That's all we need to know. And of course, it matters to God. And you know my saying about that, if it matters to God, it matters to me. I may not be able to do anything more than pray, but anybody can do that. By the way, there is no excuse for not doing that because anybody can do it. But then there's finances, and some people go there. We sent a group of people to Katrina from the church I was pastoring at the time to have hands-on help and so on and so on. All right. So number 1, this is from Colin Ruggs. Some of these are on X, and quite a few of them are actually on Facebook. Now, if you're watching on Facebook, you should be able to access all of these unless they've taken them down, which some of them they will. It goes against our community standards for you to stand there with a camera and give a picture of what's actually happening, okay? Your opinion and your commentary may go against standards because, you know, you give a bad opinion or whatever. There may be some legitimacy there at times, not very many times, but really just, you know, showing pictures of what's going on and testifying to what you've heard and what you've seen is not, to me, that's not going against anybody's community standards. It shouldn't anyway. It's simply telling the truth, okay? So this first one is about, again, it's a minute 12 seconds long. It's about the severity. Again, most of these are videos. It's really about watching them and seeing the devastation kind of firsthand, but not really. So this one is talking about there's no cell service. Okay, you're going to see that as a repeating theme. Now, it's different in different places like every disaster is. Again, why are you telling us this, Jim? We already know. Because you probably don't really get the full picture of what's going on. I'm going to tell you some things if you hang on till the end of this program that I'm pretty sure most of you haven't heard. All right. So they say literally it is being downplayed, and I think that is the truth. Okay. They say that there are bodies in the sewers, bodies in cars, bodies in trees, and that they are not being recovered. Of course, that takes some time. You have to rescue those who are in danger before you do a recovery. It's a rescue before there's a recovery. So we get that. But there's some places where no help has come even to this day. All right. Now, that's not everywhere, but especially in the western mountains of North Carolina where they are cut off. Now, here's one of the problems. These guys didn't expect this to happen. Okay. They did not. I mean, it would be like you, and let's say you lived up on Mount Hood. You're not thinking a flood's going to come, and yet a flood had come because of the severity of the hurricane, 140-mile-an-hour winds. That's a lot, and the devastation that it's caused. Some of these videos, you're going to see motor vehicles going down the street where the flood actually rushed down the street, and people are on top of their cars while the car's moving, okay, and coffins floating down the river and so on. Again, I encourage you to watch it, not to be like morbid curiosity, but let your heart be moved. All right, so that's the first one. The second one is, again, where somebody is saying, now, I want to give a quick caveat to this one. This is a program called Redacted. I don't agree with everything they say. That's why I'm only recommending the first 4 minutes of it. You could watch the whole thing. It's 15 minutes long, but the first 4 minutes are talking about the hurricane and what's not being said about it, okay? So, and again, this is going to be conspiracy to say, I'm going to say it anyway. If the powers that be, when I mean that, that's a general term, media, those if you don't know that the media is controlled by now, I don't know what to tell you, okay? The guys who sit there and they look at their laptop and they look at their paper, they don't use paper anymore, and they read off the headlines. Those reporters, okay, the guys that sit behind the desk and report, they didn't get those stories on their own, okay? They got them from higher ups who got them from higher ups and so on and so on. Anyway, all right, so this one, first 4 minutes, as I always say, pardon the language, pardon the advertising. I don't have anything to do with that. But this one does talk about, and it shows the pictures of coffins from the mortuary going, this is, my point, way more severe than you realize. Okay. And they basically say the government will be overwhelmed. I think that's an important thing for you to remember, too. We have, I guess at some modicum of success over the years, been able to depend upon the U.S. government to be able to aid us. And FEMA, one of the primary agencies, Federal Emergency Management, whatever the A stands for, they're already overwhelmed. Okay, it only takes one serious disaster, like Katrina, they were overwhelmed. Okay, and not to sound like a negative Nancy, you cannot expect that they're coming for you. You just can't. They will for some, okay? They're out there doing their job. I'm not saying they're doing it well. I'm not saying they're doing it bad. I'm just saying they're there at some places, but they can't be everywhere. And they certainly can't give all the supplies. And the government, again, this reminds me a lot of Maui. You remember what happened in Maui? As a matter of fact, when I first started looking at this, before I really even knew the severity of it, that popped into my brain. This is like Maui. Okay. Some of you who followed that story knew there was a whole bunch that stink in that whole scenario. And the government, while we're sending billions of dollars to other countries, could only give $700 to the survivors of that tragedy. And I think they're doing the same thing now, about $745 or something like that. You'd have to fact check me on that. All right, so watch out one, number two. Number three, again, a local. These are mostly locals. These are not big agencies. These are locals who are standing right there in front of their devastation and saying, here's what's happening. Here's what I'm being told. One of these is from a woman, I think that's this one, who she spoke to a local sheriff. And the sheriff says, we have no idea when any help will come to you. And some of that is because of the overwhelming need. Some of that is because roads are down, especially up in the mountains where the roads are not quite as nice as I-70 or I-35 or I-5 or whatever. Okay, they're not maintained quite as well. They have been washed out. One half of the road is washed out. You'll see it in the videos. Others, the whole road. I mean, just like you can't get across. Okay, so some have resorted, believe it or not, and I don't think I got this video in, but they have resorted to putting supplies, people that want to help, supplies on the back of donkeys and horses to walk in, to go around the roads, to get up in the, the side and bring something. There have been lots of reports of people that have been days without water, without any water at all. Okay, so no food, no water, no cell service, no electricity. And just think about for a minute what that would be like. You lose your cell. Panic ensues. You lose electricity. No microwave. No, and lights are the smallest part of electricity, really, because we can survive in the daytime. God has given us a light in the sky that's there every day. But then you got to go to bed when it gets dark, or unless you got candles. Some people really don't prepare for anything like this because they think it's fear mongering, or they've been shamed into thinking that it's that, or else they just don't think anything will happen to them. And then suddenly it does, and they don't have gas. They can't get to the gas. They don't have water. The most basic thing of all things is water. You better have water. Anyway, so the sheriff spoke to this woman and said, nobody's coming right away. You're on your own. And we've been getting reports of, here it is again, not to pick on the illegal migrants, but arrests are being made of illegal migrants who are desperate and using this opportunity to go and pillage houses that have been hit and so on and so on. So the sheriff told her, he said, you better arm yourself. This is coming from a sheriff, officer of the law. You need to arm yourself and carry it with you everywhere you go, because that you may be the only person protect. You're not going to call 911 and ask for the police or the emergency to come, you know. So again, this is the scenario our friends, our brothers and sisters, our human family is going through right now. It needs to move your heart. All right, let's go to number 4. I'm going through them fast. This video is about 5 minutes long. It's a graphic video. Now, I mean graphic, I don't mean there's a lot of blood or nudity or anything, but it's very graphic in the sense that you're going to see a house, kind of looks like a log house, and they're yelling at the woman who's in the house, and it's around, I mean, the water is rushing past like a mighty, mighty river. And they're yelling at her if the house starts moving, okay, picture yourself in this scenario. She's a good 50, feet or 100 feet or whatever away from the shoreline. The river is a couple hundred feet wide-ish, I don't know. And they're saying, if the house starts to move, you need to jump. Your mom, your wife, your husband. Come on. Well, this just doesn't concern me. I'm trying to pay my rent. Okay, I'm not trying to mock you. I'm just saying it should move our hearts. Okay, pray, send money, send help, whatever. All right, and she does. The house starts moving off its foundation and floating, and so she has to jump. And these guys are in boats, and their boats are not getting through the current, so they actually jump out of the boats and they go after. You got to watch it. And I want to say too that this is just one of hundreds of stories like this. 100, last number I got, I believe it's going to increase pretty dramatically. I hope it's not true, but I have a feeling it's going to. 100 and I think 40 people so far. That's a lot of people, okay, who got up that morning with no intention of dying, okay, and they're in the trees and yes, I don't want to be too graphic, but anyway, let's have compassion. Number 5, this is a man witnessing the devastation. Pardon the language. Yeah, they're going to be telling you things you probably don't know. Number 6. Now, here's a story. I should have put this down as a must-see. It's about 4 minutes long, but here's the story of a guy. He and his son operate a helicopter service. And I don't know what all they do, but they have a nice little helicopter, and they hop in their helicopter because they know some people or whatever, and they go and they rescue a man and a wife who are stranded. They're out there and they have no food, no water, there's nobody coming, and so they're saying, well, man, we got to help these guys, right? Isn't that the right thing to do, right? Enter the government, okay? Okay, I'm going to make it clear right now. I've said this many times, I'm going to say it again. I'm not anti-government, okay? I'm anti-bad government. I believe government, listen close to me, is of God. One day it says the government will be on that guy right there, on his shoulder, on Jesus' shoulder, right? God is the one that said, government is good and blah, 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 until it isn't. Okay, you can have good people that create good policies, which is where the word politics comes from, policy. That's what they do up there in Washington. They make policy, right? They can make good or bad policy. And some of the policy that's been happening here is we don't want citizens to interfere with our rescue operations, even though they can't get to everybody and people are dying, literally, as a consequence of it. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine having your house on fire and you've got a little rescue operation going, you're trying to put out those, and somebody shows up, a citizen, and they've got a tanker truck full of water, and they start spraying your house, and you go, no, 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 don't. Okay, so this story is about, this guy goes and literally picks up he can only carry one of them. He picks up, I think it was the wife first, and he takes her back. When he lands, the cop says, if you do this again, I'm going to arrest you. Watch the video. That's all I'm going to say. Now, if that were a one-time scenario in this whole situation, I wouldn't probably even mention it. But what we're seeing is a lot of similar kinds of things. We're seeing trucks. I forgot to put it in here, but I saw one video of a trucker. He's saying that he personally knew of 50 trucks that have had their tires slashed. Why? Who would do that? Trucks that are full of supplies to go help people. Who in their right mind, and this was not just like at one truck stop, one crazy person going around doing it. This was at multiple truck stops. These guys have their own little family where they communicate back and forth. What's happening? Okay. I don't just go, oh, well, you know, it just could be. Listen, those days are over. I hope they're over for you. I hope you're smart enough to take a look. I don't mean automatically assume, but I do mean don't just automatically disassume, if that's even a word. It's probably not a word. All right. So this cop says, we're going to arrest you. Number 7. Here's the one I'm talking about, where this one is, I've seen a lot of videos about floods and stuff. I have, I always follow these things to a slight degree, and pray and all of that. This one, the few videos I put in here are stunning. They're like beyond the norm. Okay. And I think that's the whole point, is that this is beyond the norm. This one shows a street. It looks like the street just turned into a river. Here's all these parked cars and they're all moving. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. And they've all got people on top of them because the water is up to the roof and it's just moving. It's amazing. Look at that one. Number 8. It's titled When You Can't Even Imagine. Roads are washed away. Again, no cell service and so on and so on. I'm trying to hurry. One of the big issues is what I said a few minutes ago. I never thought it could happen here. Okay? I never thought it could happen here. Hang on, because in a couple minutes, I'm going to tell you something that's going to at least pique your curiosity, if not shock the daylights out of you. You cannot afford to say this. Now, what some people call prepping, I call it just being smart, okay? What some people call prepping, they go crazy with. Getting prepared for anything happening to you. There are so many possibilities of what could happen. Natural, man-made, shortage. There's 100 different things that could happen. And that can become a bottomless pit of preparing. You know what I'm talking about? You just go step after step and you try harder and harder to prepare for every possible contingency. We all know people, there are TV shows devoted to it. They have encircled their entire life about that one primary issue. Let me tell you with all confidence, and this is my opinion, you don't have to believe me, but I'm telling you, that's not God's will for your life. Should you prepare? I think it is God's will for your life. To be smart, to ask him, and then to follow up on what you feel you're supposed to do. At the very least, some water and some food in your house. Okay, so their testimony, and by the way, this video, number 9, is also about Samaritan's Purse. Some of you know Samaritan's Purse, Franklin Graham, son of Billy Graham, one of the best relief organizations in the world, bar none. If I had one to recommend, it would be this one. Now, there are some others. CRI, C-R-I, is Crisis Response International. Someone that I know personally, okay, that's a good one too. Christian outfit and so on. Some of these outfits have become so mired down in political agendas, like the Red Cross and other ones, that they are ineffective. They're hamstrung. They may have good people volunteering, but they really can't be very effective, even though millions of dollars come into FEMA and so on and so on. But this one, it shows Good Samaritan. They're at every crisis that seems like ever happens. And they're there, they're loving people, they're comforting, they're giving them their basic necessities, they're trying to help them through this, and they're giving them the love of Jesus and the testimony of a good God in heaven. So if you have money you want to send, that's a way you can do it. Number 10. This one is just a short 3-minute where a guy is talking about storms. Now, you and I don't know. I'm not a storm watcher. Okay, I don't go on. There are sites for everything now. Did you know that? There are sites for everything. NASA has a site tracking meteors. There's just sites for everything. And this one shows you all around the world all of the storms that are currently brewing. Did you know there's like 4, 5, 6, whatever, I didn't count them, radical storms that are brewing right now. One is a Cat 5. Cat 5, there's only 5. Cat, I think, stands for catastrophe. Cat 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, Katrina was a 3. Helene is a 4. A Cat 5 is as bad as it gets. Winds up to, I don't know, a couple hundred miles an hour. There's one getting ready to happen right now in the Philippines. You're not going to hear about it. Why? Well, 2 reasons. Number 1, the news can't show every possible thing that's happening in the world at the same time. So what do? They listen to their overlords that tell them what they think is the most important thing, and that's what you get if all you do is watch news, okay? If you're not looking at some of these, public outlets, information outlets, things like Facebook, of course, YouTube, Rumble, Telegram, X, Elon Musk. If you're not looking at some of those, you're probably missing out on at least a portion of the most important things. Again, the alphabet media is not going to show you this stuff, okay? They don't want to. They don't want to create panic. They're in the pockets of the people that support them financially, okay? Believe it or not, advertisement revenue is not the primary way that these guys get supported. I'm going to leave that at that. All right, so more storms are coming. That's important to know. Number 11, this is a long read. Okay. Now we're going to start, and I actually no, I didn't mislabel this. Number 11 is it's a read, but it's a long read. So I want to warn you ahead of time. Probably take you 10 minutes to read it. But it is a woman with boots on the ground who works for agencies that come bring disaster relief. And she says, okay, I've been doing this for a long time with various agencies. I'm going to tell you why they don't want citizens helping out. Churches, they've turned them away. People with a pickup truck load full of food and water, you have to go back. You try to go through this barricade, we're going to arrest you. Stuff like that. So she delineates exactly why this happens. And wouldn't you know it, what did Jesus say? Is at the root of all evil. It's money. Okay? I'm not going to tell you about any more than that, but you should read it. You really should. Okay? Some of you, and again, I've said this so many times, I'm tired of saying it, but some of you really need to go through. It'll take you probably a half an hour to go through these. That's all. And just look at them real quick and, yeah, get yourself informed so that you know. Because what's going on right now, I guarantee you, is way bigger than the alphabet media is telling you. All right. So section number 2, I've only got a few of these now and I'm almost done. Have you ever heard of geoengineering? I told you there was going to be some conspiracy theory because some of this is theory and some of it is not theory, okay? So I just wanted to whet your conspiratorial appetite. Unashamedly, I'm saying that, so that you'll look at these things. So if you're afraid that you don't know what the truth is, so you're never going to do any investigating because you're afraid you might be deceived, you're already deceived. I'm not trying to be mean to you. I'm just saying that's the truth. I don't want to know. I can't handle it. Yeah, I'm overwhelmed, all that. Geoengineering is the ability or the hopeful capacity of human beings to alter their natural environment, the weather, the rain, earthquakes. I mean, you name it, anything that has to do, geo comes from the word geographic, which would also include the sky, the air, and so on and so on. This is not a theory at all. Okay, I'm going to be clear about this. This is not a theory. Okay, geoengineering has been going on and it's easily provable. But it's just not something that ABC, CBN, or not CBN, that's a good channel, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, blah, blah, blah. These guys come out and say, hey, let's talk about geoengineering. Maybe once in a while, and some I'm going to show you a video in a minute or tell you about it, where they did. They've been talking about this publicly from about 1971, I think. But anyway, what this first one is, so geoengineering is a fact. What is not known is how much they have been able. Now, I'm just going to pause real quick because I have a close relative of mine. Last time I talked about something like this, they just derided me. How gullible can you be? And I'm going to say the same thing back, not to that person because, you know, I love them and all that, and I'm not trying to be mean to them, but I want to ask that question right back. How gullible can we be not to even believe something when it is a verified fact? When it's verified by the people that have done it, when it's verified by the government itself, when it's verified by people that had a part in it. I mean, come on. All right, so this first one is the documented history of geoengineering. Listen now, I'm almost done. Geoengineering patents. Do you know what a patent is? You have an invention. You go to the U.S. the government patent store, whatever. You can tell I've never done it. You pay them money. You give them your plans. You say, I want a patent on this so that nobody else can do it. Okay? So patents for inventions have been going on forever. the patents for geoengineering started, I think it's like 1871. The very first patent that was ever applied for with now a patent doesn't necessarily mean it works. Okay, and I don't want to go into patents too much, but basically it shows you that people are doing this, okay? People are moving in this direction. They have a mindset that they can do it. Eventually, they usually don't apply for a patent until they've had success. That's normal. All right. Anyway, you will be shocked. Okay, this one, when you click on this and listen really closely, this is number 1 under geoengineering. Okay, there's 2 sections. The severity, how bad is it? This is the way I put it in the description box. How bad is it? All those videos so that you can get a realistic view of what's happening. And this one, what about geoengineering? In other words, can man manipulate weather? Now, before you say that can happen, every scientist in the world will tell you not only can it happen, it is happening, and it has been happening for scores and scores of years. Okay, all the way back to the late 1800s. So that's what, at least, close to a couple hundred years. This is not a theory. This part is not a theory, okay? So you probably heard of them seeding the clouds so that it will rain. Absolute predictable thing. They do it all the time, okay? They're not telling you that they're doing it all the time because it makes people upset. Because most people have enough brains to realize there are some things you shouldn't mess with. That belongs to God. Okay, not going to go down that road. So when you click on this, you're going to be shocked. I have never seen a Facebook post longer than this one, because all it's doing is listing from number 1, the very first patent. I think it's to seed the clouds to make rain, which of course have been done thousands of times. Number 2, number 3, all the way up to current. I believe it has been, thank God for, at least in this situation, AI, because anyway, information finding. All the way to update, I don't know how many there are, I didn't even count, but there looks to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of patents about weather control. So please don't just go, that's not true. Okay. All right, you get what I'm saying. I'm trying to get you to realize there are things you don't know, okay? And is it important to know? I think it kind of is. Not so you can obsess over it forever, but anyway. Now, I'm going somewhere with this because there are those, and here's where the theory part comes in, who believe that this was orchestrated and that it was actually controlled. So before you pass judgment on that, let me go to the next video. I've only got a few of these. The next one is, do you remember in Lahaina, Maui, where it was the worst fire in U.S. history and it was the least announced, protected? They actually blocked up the road and kept citizens in the area. Many people, there are still hundreds of people that they can't find. 500, I think, children perished or they can't find. I mean, it is so beyond what is normal that even some of the legacy ABC, CBN guys questioned what was going on, okay? As soon as I start seeing this stuff, the first thing I thought was Maui. This is another Maui. Could be. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not casting my vote just yet. But it's sure in the heck is suspicious. So number 2 is just a picture. That's all it is. When you click on it, it's just going to take you to a picture. It looks like a screenshot. It's pretty blurry. But you can look it up. Ashland and is it Hayesville or Asheville? I don't know. You can barely see it. I apologize for that. I didn't have time to find another one. Where, like in Lahaina, they say, we're going to turn our city into a quote-unquote smart city. Now, in case you're not familiar with that concept, and these are city governmental agencies putting out these, they're a matter of government record. They're not hiding it at all. Okay, it's saying we're going to make a smart city. Smart city is like you have a smart house. Everything is run by AI. I hope you don't have one of those. But if you do, you can talk to your microwave. Everything is hooked up. It's very close to the Terminator, the Skynet thing. Okay, and believe it or not, we are moving towards that. Anyway, so they're saying we want this city. Now, the first one I heard about that wanted to be a smart city was Maui, and what do you know? The whole place burned down. I'm sure that was just a coinky-dink. That's just a crazy, coincidence that just happened, Oh, don't be, whatever. All right, same thing here, okay? Matter of record, look it up. You look at the blurry picture, do some research, you can find it, okay? Where the city has said, yeah, we're going to do this. What do you know? The whole area is toast. Okay, the Asheville area, one of the strongest areas hit, it's gone. It's just basically gone. Already, just like what happened in Lahaina, people are coming in trying to buy. Now, this actually happens a lot anyway, so let's just be truthful about it. There's a hurricane on the Carolina coast or in Florida or in Texas. There are people with a lot of money who just look to buy up land cheap. Okay, this has always happened, but it's really interesting how much more it's happening. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, look at that one. I'm not saying read the whole thing. I didn't read the whole thing because it would have taken me an hour to. You will be amazed how many are on there. Number 4, patents are creating patents for. Now this one's a video. Oh no, this is another read. This is actually, this is another read. It's short. It's basically the same, just a little different. You want to see that one. Number 5. This one is a picture that gives a very short view of, and this one is good because you can look at this it's a white picture and it's got a couple stick figures on it. And I think they've only got like 10 of the patents, but you can read what they say. Okay. A patent for the ability. Now listen to me, please. This is not made up. A patent for the ability to create and direct a hurricane. I'm not making this up. I am not making this up. I know it's shocking. You can't hardly believe it. Doesn't mean that that's what's happened here, okay? It is still in the realm of theory, at least in my mind, but there are people that believe it can happen and for a very long time have been working that it will happen. Why? Because man believes he's God and he believes he can control the weather. And frankly, he's been able to at some degree. But here's what happens when you step into the realm that belongs to God. You can wind up burning your fingers. You can wind up creating chaos. You can wind up creating the very thing. So you're trying to keep bad weather from happening. You might actually create it and destroy large parts of the earth. Maybe this whole climate thing is not so much about, pooping cows, and cows passing gas and what's coming out of the tailpipe. I mean, it's been pretty proven that is a minuscule amount that's affecting, the environment. And maybe it's about these guys that have been Noah and, one of some of the other ones, Linda, you guys know about that, have been going on for years. And they're doing it. It's not, again, it's please, what I tell you, this stuff is easy to find. Okay. But not if the only thing you do is plop on your behind once in the evening and listen to, the evening news. I mean, they're not. Okay. All right. I'm getting a little worked up. All right. So that's, I'm down to the last two. Oh, the last one. This is the very last one. I'm almost done. One of the theories that's going about that I believe is worth investigating is this. The largest source of lithium. Some of you know what lithium is, right? You cannot make all the things we depend on, laptops, TVs. I want to make sure, I can't make sure I'm accurate because I don't know 100%, but cell phone that you're staring at me with right now, probably some of you, you can't make this stuff without lithium. Lithium batteries, blah, blah, blah. Okay. High demand as we increase production, and we are every day, of these electronic devices. We're not getting less dependent on them, ergo we're making less of them. No, we're more dependent upon them, ergo we're making more of them. What in the heck does ergo mean? You get what I'm saying? As we get more of these things made, the supply for the need for lithium and some of the other things I won't mention have to be found somewhere. Okay? Now, we just lost some of the greatest resources that we had for getting lithium. I won't go into that because I don't have time. But the largest the largest amount of lithium to be found, I believe in the world, but at least in this country, guess where it's at? In the western hills of North Carolina. where they're turning people away, where there's no communications, where they're mad because Elon Musk says, I'll bring Starlink into where they can communicate. Something is amiss, okay? Now, watch the video. It's just a few minutes long. And then if you want to be responsible, I mean, I'm not like trying to shame you, but look up some of that stuff, okay? I really think what's going to happen is we're going to find out something rotten is in Denmark. Something stinks about this, whether or not it was created. One interesting thing that one of the guys talks about, he shows a satellite picture. I mean, it's again, it's not made up. It's an actual from the, NOAA or whatever government agency that shows the storm coming up the Florida coast. Lots of times, at least my experience has been lots of times when a hurricane hits the landfall, it actually diminishes. That's like the big expectancy. For some reason, they were saying this was going to get stronger when it hits. Okay, and I'm sure there might be some weather thing. Again, I'm not saying for sure. But it's very interesting to me. I watched this hurricane hit the land, build to a ginormous, like 3 times bigger than Katrina, as far as the way it looks just on satellite. And then it got over the western portion of North Carolina, and it did something that even the weather guys were like freaked out about. It hovered. I don't know if it's ever happened before, but I listened to the weather guys. They were freaked out. They're like, this doesn't happen. Why is this? It literally hovered. Okay, think of a tornado that comes down the city street and it isolates over a certain house or two, and it just stays there. It stops moving and it just stays there. Can man control? Like all of the patents say, remember, we're not coming up with this just out of the crazy, we're sitting around in our basement eating Hot Pockets and coming up. No, there are patents, hundreds of them, with people who have been trying to do this for a very long time. So to say that it's impossible, I think that's not very smart. To say that it absolutely is true, I'm not ready to say that yet. But I'm ready to point it out to you so you can look it up and come to your own conclusion, okay? All right, guys, that's all I'm going to say. Please take time to look at these links. Again, they're only 2 to 3 to 4 or 5 minutes long, except for one, and I only recommend that you watch the first 4 minutes of it. It'll take you 35 minutes to go through, okay? That's all. And you will be more informed than about 90% of the population of the country. That's a made-up number. I have no idea. Anyway, love you guys. Thanks for coming on. Sorry this is so late in the day. Share this with your friends, okay? Pray I don't get in trouble. And don't be in fear. You got nothing to fear. Death is the only thing that can happen. Well, hell, I guess, if you're not ready to meet God. But, trust that you are. So, all right, I'm done. Love you all. Give yourself permission to have a great day. Bye-bye.